Most people think learning English takes years. They think it requires expensive courses, heavy grammar books, and long, boring study sessions. But here's the truth nobody talks about. English is not hard. The method you were taught is hard. You've been learning English the slow way, the old way, the traditional way that kills your confidence before it builds your skills. Every day, millions of learners spend hours memorizing grammar rules they never use, writing vocabulary lists they quickly forget, and practicing exercises that have no connection to real life. And after all that effort, they still can't speak confidently. Not because they're weak, but because the system they follow is broken. If you want to learn English fast, you need a method that fits the real world, not a classroom. A method that trains your ears before your tongue, your confidence before your grammar, your speaking before your perfection. Learning English quickly isn't about being talented. It's about focusing on the right things. The words that matter, the phrases people actually use, the patterns that build fluency, the habits that turn confusion into confidence. This guide will show you exactly how to do that. Step by step. Clear, practical, and fast. No complex rules, no useless methods, just a new way of learning that finally works. Let's begin. Step 1. Fix your mindset. You don't learn a language, you absorb it. The first and most important step to learning English fast is changing the way you think about the language. Most learners approach English the same way they approach math or science. They believe that if they memorize enough grammar formulas, practice enough exercises, and study enough rules, fluency will somehow appear. But language doesn't work that way. Fluency isn't built from rules. It comes from exposure. Children don't study grammar books, yet they speak perfectly because their brains absorb patterns naturally. Adults can do the exact same thing, but somewhere along the journey, they lose the one skill that children master effortlessly: input. Your brain needs to hear English before it can produce English. Just like you cannot pour water from an empty glass, you cannot speak a language your mind hasn't absorbed. This is where most learners fail. They spend 90% of their time forcing themselves to speak, stressing about mistakes, worrying about grammar, and only 10% of their time listening. That's like trying to drive a car without learning how to turn on the engine. Listening is the ignition. Listening is the foundation. Listening is the fuel that builds natural fluency. If you want to learn English quickly, you must accept one simple truth. Speaking is the result, not the starting point. The more you listen, the faster you speak. The more English you absorb, the more English you can express. If your brain is constantly hearing real conversations, stories, podcasts, interviews, and native speakers, it starts to build internal patterns automatically. You begin to recognize how sentences sound, how expressions flow, how pronunciation works, and how real people communicate. Without even trying, you start forming similar patterns when you speak. This is why people who watch English movies, listen to English videos, or follow English influencers often improve faster than those studying books. Exposure trains your brain. Repetition builds confidence. Familiarity removes fear. When you shift your mindset from "I must speak perfectly" to "I must listen consistently," your progress becomes faster, smoother, and more natural than any grammar method. Fluency is not built in classrooms. It is built in your ears. And when English enters your ears every day, it automatically begins to come out of your mouth with confidence. Step 2. Master the 3-minute rule. Learn in microdoses. One of the biggest reasons people struggle to learn English is that they try to study the language in long, exhausting sessions. They sit for 1 or 2 hours trying to memorize vocabulary, grammar rules, and exercises, but the brain simply can't absorb information effectively when it's tired or overloaded. Language learning doesn't happen in giant chunks. It happens in tiny moments. Your brain is designed to learn a language the same way it learned your mother tongue. Small pieces, repeated many times throughout the day. This is where the 3-minute rule becomes powerful. Instead of forcing yourself to study for hours, you train your brain in short, focused bursts that actually stick. 3 minutes may sound too small, but in reality, 3 minutes is the perfect dose for your mind to absorb something new without resistance. When done multiple times a day, these micro-lessons build fluency faster than traditional studying. The method is simple. Minute 1 is about choosing a phrase, not a single word. Words are weak alone. Phrases are powerful because they teach you real communication directly. Phrases like, "I'm looking forward to it," "I'll get back to you," or "let me think about it" can be used in dozens of situations, which means they instantly become part of your active vocabulary. One phrase learned deeply is more valuable than memorizing 10 isolated words you will forget tomorrow. During Minute 2, your job is to expose your brain to the same phrase in different contexts. You can find short clips on YouTube, scroll through English Reels, listen to podcasts, or use any platform where real speakers use the language naturally. Hearing the phrase used in multiple situations helps your brain absorb the rhythm, tone, and meaning effortlessly. Your brain begins to understand how the phrase works without you consciously studying it. Then comes Minute 3, the most important step of all. Use the phrase. Speaking activates memory more effectively than reading or listening. When you say the phrase out loud, write it in a sentence, or use it while thinking in English, it becomes part of your active speaking ability. This is what transforms passive knowledge into real fluency. Doing this process 3 times a day takes only 9 minutes, yet the results are dramatic. If you follow this for 30 days, you will learn around 90 real, practical phrases that native speakers use constantly. 90 phrases is enough to handle daily conversations, express your thoughts clearly, and understand most everyday English. This method is small, simple, and fast, but that's exactly why it works. Instead of overwhelming your brain, you feed it consistent microdoses of English that it can digest and remember easily. In 1 month, you will notice a transformation you could never achieve with traditional long study sessions. Step 3. Use the shadowing method. The fastest speaking hack. The shadowing method is one of the fastest and most effective techniques for improving your English speaking skills. Yet most learners never use it simply because they have never been taught how powerful it truly is. Shadowing is not normal repetition. It is a high-precision, high-focus technique used by spies, professional interpreters, and people who must learn languages extremely quickly. The idea is simple. You listen to a sentence and repeat it instantly, exactly as you hear it, like an echo. You're not translating. You're not thinking. You're not analyzing grammar. You are copying, rhythm for rhythm, tone for tone, pronunciation for pronunciation. This method forces your brain to match the natural music of English, something textbooks can never teach you. When you shadow correctly, you begin to sound more natural, more fluent, and more confident because you're training your mouth and brain to move the way native speakers speak. To use shadowing effectively, choose a short clip. 10 to 20 seconds is more than enough. First, listen to the clip once without speaking. Let your ears catch the flow of the sentence, the pauses, the emphasis, and the speed. Then play it again, but this time, repeat immediately after the speaker. Do not wait for the sentence to finish. Speak along with them, following as closely as you can. The goal is not perfection. The goal is rhythm and accuracy. Your task is to copy everything you hear. The melody, the speed, the intonation, and even the small breaths or pauses. This is the closest thing to real-time language training. You are training your brain to think in English without translation, and you are training your tongue to produce sounds correctly without hesitation. If you do this process for just 10 minutes a day, the results are incredible. Your pronunciation starts to improve within a few days because your mouth gets used to forming English sounds. Your accent becomes clearer, more natural, and easier to understand. The biggest benefit is automatic speaking. You stop searching for words, and your sentences come out smoothly because your brain is building the muscle memory of real English speech. This technique rewires your speaking ability faster than any grammar book or vocabulary list ever could. Shadowing is not just practice, it's a transformation. It gives you the rhythm of English, the speed of English, and the confidence to speak English without fear. That's why many learners call it the closest thing to instant English. Step 4. Stop studying grammar. Learn patterns instead. One of the biggest mistakes English learners make is believing that mastering grammar is the key to speaking fluently. They spend months trying to memorize rules, exceptions, structures, and complicated explanations, only to still freeze when it's time to actually speak. The truth is, grammar slows you down because it forces you to think before every sentence. You start calculating tenses, checking rules, and mentally assembling sentences like a puzzle. But fluency doesn't come from thinking. It comes from automatic patterns your brain recognizes instantly. This is why learning patterns instead of grammar is the fastest way to speak English confidently. Patterns are simple, reusable structures that work in dozens of situations, allowing you to express yourself naturally without overthinking. When you learn a pattern, you unlock a whole group of sentences, not just one. For example, take the pattern, "I'm used to." Once you understand this single pattern, you can create endless sentences. I'm used to waking up early. I'm used to this weather. I'm used to studying at night. The grammar behind it is irrelevant. You learn the structure once, then use it everywhere. Another pattern like, "I feel like," gives you instant power to express desires and moods. I feel like going out. I feel like eating something sweet. I feel like sleeping. With just one pattern, you can express hundreds of ideas. Patterns simplify English. They turn complicated grammar into easy, ready-made building blocks your brain can use instantly. A pattern works like a template. Your brain fills in the rest automatically. When you use patterns regularly, you start forming sentences quickly and naturally because your mind is following familiar structures instead of scrambling for rules. You no longer worry about tenses or putting words in the correct order. You simply plug your ideas into the pattern, and the sentence forms itself. This is exactly how native speakers communicate. They don't think about grammar consciously. They use patterns they've absorbed through years of listening and speaking. You don't need 200 grammar books or endless worksheets. You need about 20 essential patterns that cover 80% of daily English. Once you master these patterns, you will be able to speak smoothly, confidently, and without fear. Patterns give you fluency faster than grammar ever will because they focus on real-life usage instead of rules. If you replace grammar study with pattern practice, your speaking will become more natural, more automatic, and far more effective. This is the shortcut every fast learner uses. And now, so can you. Step 5. Build vocabulary the smart way. 5 words a day. Many English learners believe that memorizing huge lists of vocabulary will make them fluent. They try to learn 50, 80, or even 100 new words in a single day. But the problem is simple. The human brain does not work like that. You might remember those words for a few hours, maybe a day, but after 24 hours, almost all of them disappear. Memorization without repetition and context is meaningless. Learning vocabulary fast is not about quantity, it's about depth. Instead of trying to force dozens of words into your brain, focus on learning fewer words but learning them completely. That's why the smartest method is to learn 5 words a day, but in a deeper and more practical way. When you learn 5 words along with 5 phrases and 5 real examples, your brain forms strong connections that make the words impossible to forget. This approach builds long-term memory instead of temporary memorization. For example, take the word handle. If you just memorize the word, you might forget it tomorrow. But when you connect it to a phrase like I can handle it, suddenly the meaning becomes clearer and easier to remember. Then, when you build real-life sentences, I can handle stress. I can handle the situation. I can handle the pressure. The word becomes part of your speaking ability. You're not just learning the word, you're learning how to use it in real life. One word now becomes multiple sentences, and one sentence becomes a pattern you can use every day. This is how vocabulary grows naturally, without force, without stress. 5 words a day might seem small, but when you learn them deeply, they become part of your active vocabulary. In 1 month, that's 150 powerful words, each with phrases and examples. In 6 months, that's nearly 1,000 words that you can actually use, not just recognize. That is the difference between passive vocabulary, words you know but can't use, and active vocabulary, words you speak confidently. Fluency comes from the words you can use, not the words you remember for a moment and forget the next morning. Learning vocabulary the smart way means focusing on usefulness. Choose words that appear in daily conversations, social media, movies, emails, and real life. Attach phrases to those words, and then attach examples to those phrases. This layered learning method strengthens memory, improves speaking ability, and builds confidence. When one word becomes many sentences, your fluency grows automatically. This is the vocabulary strategy that actually works. Small steps, deep learning, real results. Step 6. Make English your environment. If you truly want to learn English fast, you must stop treating it like a school subject and start treating it like a world you live in. The fastest language learners are not the ones who study the most. They are the ones who surround themselves with the language daily. When everything around you is English, your brain begins to absorb it naturally, the same way children learn their mother tongue. You don't need to force grammar rules or memorize long word lists. Your brain picks up patterns, sounds, expressions, and meanings simply by being exposed to them repeatedly. turning your environment into an English environment is one of the most powerful shortcuts to fluency. Because when English becomes part of your daily life, learning becomes automatic. Start with small changes. Change your phone language to English so every time you unlock your device, you're interacting with English words. Watch YouTube content in English instead of your native language. This trains your ears to the rhythm and flow of real conversation. Follow English content creators, speakers, and influencers, so your social media feeds become daily lessons without you even trying. Listen to English podcasts or audiobooks while doing chores, walking, cooking, or relaxing. These moments of passive listening may seem small, but they add up quickly and help your brain absorb patterns effortlessly. Use English subtitles wherever possible. When you watch shows or movies, seeing the words while hearing them creates a strong memory link that accelerates learning. Write your thoughts in English daily, even a few lines. This helps you think in English instead of translating from your native language. Talk to AI or chatbots in English whenever you can. This gives you natural practice without pressure or fear of judgment. And most importantly, surround yourself with English sounds. Even if you don't understand everything, your brain is still learning. Exposure trains your mind in the background, quietly building familiarity, confidence, and understanding. This method works because your brain becomes comfortable with the language, not confused by it. You stop seeing English as something foreign and start seeing it as normal, something you live with every day. Over time, the language stops feeling hard or complicated. Words become familiar. Sentences feel natural. Fluency begins to grow on its own. Exposure is magic, not because it teaches you instantly, but because it transforms English from a lesson into an environment. And once you live in English, learning becomes effortless. Step 7. Use story learning, not boring studying. Most people try to learn English by forcing their brain to memorize grammar rules, long vocabulary lists, and complicated explanations that feel more like punishment than learning. But the human brain does not learn language this way. Think about it. When you were a child, you didn't study grammar books to learn your first language. You learned through stories, voices, conversations, and real-life experiences. Story learning is the most natural, fastest, and most effective method to absorb a language. Your brain is designed for stories. It loves patterns, emotions, characters, and events. When you hear or read a story, your brain becomes active in multiple areas: imagination, memory, emotion, and language processing. This combination makes learning effortless. That's why you can remember a movie scene from 10 years ago, but you forget a grammar rule after 10 minutes. Instead of fighting your brain, use the system it already understands. Start small. Pick a simple English story. Something like a short tale, a children's book, or a short article written in an easy level. While you read, don't worry about understanding every word. Focus on the flow. Notice how sentences are formed. Notice how characters speak. Notice how the same words repeat in different situations. Without force, grammar starts to make sense. Your brain begins connecting patterns automatically. Another great method is reading dialogues. Dialogues show natural English, real expressions, and everyday communication. You see how questions are formed, how people respond, how emotions are expressed. Reading just 10-15 minutes of dialogue daily can teach you more real English than 1 year of textbook studying. If you love movies or series, use subtitles to your advantage. Watch a scene, pause, read the subtitle, listen again. You'll notice the rhythm of speech, the tone, the vocabulary, and the sentence structure. You're not just watching, you're absorbing. Your goal is not perfection. Your goal is exposure. Every story you read gives your brain new patterns, new structures, new ways of expressing ideas. Over time, these patterns become automatic. You start to think in English, speak faster, and understand naturally, without translating. This method works because emotion improves memory. When you enjoy something, you remember it. When something makes you feel curious, excited, or surprised, your brain records it deeply. Stories create that emotion. So make story learning your daily routine. Just 15 minutes a day can build natural grammar, strong vocabulary, and real fluency. Without stress, without pressure, without fear, you won't study English. You'll absorb it. Step 8. Speak without fear. The 30-second confidence hack. Most English learners don't struggle because they lack vocabulary or grammar knowledge. They struggle because they are afraid. Afraid of making mistakes, afraid of sounding silly, afraid of being judged. This fear paralyzes their speaking ability and keeps them stuck in a cycle of hesitation, self-doubt, and frustration. The truth is simple. Mistakes are not your enemy. They are your greatest teacher. Every mistake you make is a step forward. Every sentence you say, even if imperfect, is proof that you are actively learning. Mistakes mean that you are using English in real life, not just passively studying it. The moment you accept this, your fear begins to dissolve and your confidence starts to grow. Speaking without fear is not about perfection. It's about action, practice, and building a habit that trains your brain to respond naturally in English. Here's a simple and effective hack to develop this habit. The 30-second voice note method. Every single day, set aside just 30 seconds and record yourself speaking in English. The topic can be anything. Describe your day, share your opinion, explain a small idea, or narrate a short story. The key is not the content, but the act of speaking itself. Do not stop to correct yourself, do not overthink, and do not judge your pronunciation. Simply speak. Even if it's messy at first, your brain is practicing forming sentences, finding the right words, and organizing thoughts in English. Over time, this small daily habit rewires your speaking ability and slowly eliminates the fear that holds most learners back. Recording yourself also provides an added benefit. Feedback. When you listen to your own voice, you notice pronunciation patterns, common errors, and areas to improve, all without external pressure. Over days and weeks, the 30-second recordings become a library of your progress. You start noticing growth, your confidence builds, and speaking English becomes less intimidating. This small daily investment of just half a minute is far more effective than hours of worrying in class or overanalyzing grammar at home. Consistency is everything. 30 seconds today, 30 seconds tomorrow, 30 seconds every day. Eventually, you will speak longer, clearer, and with much more confidence. Fear loses its power when action becomes habit. With this simple technique, you shift from hesitation to courage, from fear to fluency. Speaking English stops being scary. It becomes natural, automatic, and even enjoyable. Step 9. Follow the 1-month immersion plan. If you want to accelerate your English learning like nothing else, the most effective strategy is full immersion. Treating English as if it is part of your everyday life, every day, for an entire month. The 1-month immersion plan is designed to systematically train your brain, improve listening, speaking, and comprehension, and build confidence rapidly. This plan works because it focuses on consistent daily exposure and active use of English, instead of sporadic studying or overthinking grammar. Each week has a clear goal and simple actions that steadily increase your fluency, from absorption to confident communication. Week 1. Input Immersion. The first week is all about absorbing English. Spend 1 hour every day listening to English content, podcasts, videos, or music, without worrying about understanding everything. Add 10 minutes of shadowing to mimic the pronunciation and rhythm of native speakers. Learn 5 new phrases each day so you gradually build a usable vocabulary. Watch English shorts or clips for real-life expressions, and read at least 1 page of a story daily to expose yourself to sentence structures naturally. At this stage, you may not see dramatic speaking results yet, but your brain is quietly preparing, creating mental patterns that will soon become automatic. Week 2. Speaking Activation. Now it's time to start speaking slowly but steadily. Continue shadowing for 10 minutes daily and add 5 minutes of active speaking. Record your voice to notice areas of improvement and learn 5 new language patterns to increase sentence variety. Listen to English for 30 minutes to reinforce auditory input. This week, you begin forming sentences more naturally, and your brain starts connecting listening and speaking skills. Week 3. Confidence Training. The goal this week is to eliminate fear. Record 30-second daily voice notes, engage in 3 conversations with AI or chatbots, and completely avoid content in your native language. Use English for messages, notes, and simple tasks. By the end of the week, speaking feels smoother, mistakes are no longer intimidating, and confidence grows naturally. Week 4. Fast Fluency Mode. This is the peak week. Listen for an hour, speak for 20 minutes, shadow advanced speakers, learn 50 practical real-life phrases, and read 10 minutes daily. Your sentences will flow more automatically, your accent will improve, and comprehension will feel easier. By the end of this week, you will notice a real transformation. You will not only understand English faster, but speak it comfortably and naturally, as if it has become part of your daily life. Step 10. Never quit. Fluency is a daily habit. The final step to learning English quickly and effectively is the one that separates temporary learners from truly fluent speakers. Consistency. English is not something you study occasionally, nor is it a skill you learn and then forget. It's not a subject to pass. It's a language to live with. Fluency is built through daily action, repeated exposure, and continual practice. To achieve real results, English must become a habit, woven into the fabric of your everyday life. Every thought, every conversation, every task is an opportunity to practice, reinforce, and grow. You don't need perfection. You need persistence. The simplest daily habits compound into extraordinary results over time. Start small but commit daily. Think in English whenever possible, even in simple situations. Narrate your day silently in English. Describe objects around you or mentally rehearse sentences. Speak in English every day, even if it's only a few minutes. Record your voice, talk to chatbots, or have short conversations with friends or yourself. Write in English, notes, journals, or even social media captions to strengthen your brain's ability to structure sentences. Listen to English constantly. Podcasts, YouTube videos, songs, or audiobooks. And practice the phrases and patterns you've learned, using them in real-life situations repeatedly. Every repetition strengthens your memory and makes English automatic. Consistency over 90 days will amaze you. You will find that words flow faster, comprehension improves, and speaking feels easier. Sentences you once struggled with now come naturally. Your brain starts thinking in English rather than translating, and mistakes lose their power to intimidate. If you stay consistent for a full year, 365 days, you will reach a level of fluency that feels effortless. You will sound natural, confident, and expressive, as if English has always been a part of you. Fluency is not a single achievement. It is a lifestyle. Every day you practice, listen, speak, and think in English, you strengthen a habit that compounds into mastery. Mistakes, hesitations, or slow progress are all part of the journey. They are proof that you are actively learning and growing. Never quit. Treat English as a living part of your environment, not a temporary task. Live with it, immerse yourself, and practice relentlessly. The result is inevitable. Fluency becomes more than a skill. It becomes your new reality. English will no longer feel foreign. It will feel like your natural voice. This is not magic, it's habit. This is not theory, it's proven method. Follow these steps, stay consistent, and watch yourself transform. Your English journey doesn't have to be long or painful. Live with the language, and fluency will follow. If you found this guide helpful and want to take your English learning to the next level, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. Here, we share practical tips, step-by-step strategies, and proven methods to help you speak English confidently, improve your vocabulary, and master fluency faster than ever. Every week, we bring you easy-to-follow lessons, life-changing hacks, and motivational content that keeps you consistent and inspired. Don't waste another day struggling with English. Join our community of learners who are turning fear into confidence and mistakes into progress. Subscribe now and start your journey to fluency today. Remember, English isn't just a skill, it's a lifestyle. Stay consistent, stay motivated, and let's grow together.